Well, good morning. How's everybody doing today? You know, it's a great day to be a Roadrunner, absolutely right. And in about 3 more days, when it's the first day of spring, it'll be an even better day to be a Roadrunner. Welcome to the 2016 Spring Update. It really is a pleasure to see so many faces out here this morning. So thank you for taking the time to join us. So let me begin by simply saying that brevity is the soul of wit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So this spring update is in its 4th year, and we see this as an opportunity to provide a mid-year check-in to inform the campus on where we are with our priorities, what's in store for us at the legislature, which I affectionately call the Golden Dome Daycare Center, and of course higher education funding is all on our minds. It does allow us to, for all of you to ask me and the senior leadership any questions that are on your mind as well, and to share your ideas. So as I began to reflect on what I wanted to say at today's update, I saw it was scheduled for the day after the Ides of March, the anniversary of Julius Caesar's assassination. I'm not taking this personally. But I did begin to immediately think of William Shakespeare, someone I admire for his timeliness and his insightful voice. From Henry V to Julius Caesar to Hamlet, Shakespeare dissected and mapped some truly complex problems seen in history and in literature. In fact, Joseph Badaracco, Jr., professor of business ethics at the Harvard Business School, said, "You can learn as much from Shakespeare's Julius Caesar as you could from any business book or academic journal." So today, whether you are a fan or not, I'm going to channel the Bard and share some of his timeless wisdom and insight that I find quite relevant to the state of MSU Denver today. Now let me just say, I do this knowing that there are some members of the English faculty out there who are going to hold me accountable for my misrepresentation of the Bard. So for starters, in terms of brevity, my goal is to keep today's presentation short and sweet. Enough said. So it is a tale full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Now you may remember that House Bill 1319, the big higher education financing formula bill, was passed 2 years ago. And we have spent a lot of time and effort and capacity working with other higher education institutions to develop a funding formula based upon performance criteria. Now concluding its first year of implementation, the Colorado Department of Higher Education has proposed a revised model with drastic changes that would take us back, I think, to the status quo, where a large percentage of the budget will be based on a prior year base budget. Essentially saying we're going to forget about performance, we're going to forget about underrepresented students, and we're just going to keep doing things as we always have done them. And so there is no focus now on Colorado's underrepresented students in the new formula. This concept was largely echoed by staff at the Joint Budget Committee, who proposed a slightly different model, which is still based on the status quo or a prior year budget, but places some emphasis on weighted credit hour production, which is what we had been arguing should be the appropriate model. And the model that the JBC staff proposed was voted on and approved by the Joint Budget Committee last week, and it includes a potential 9% tuition cap for MSU Denver, with some parameters that are attached to it. We know now what we are, but we know not what we may be. So right now, the Colorado Department of Higher Education proposal would mean a $447,000 cut to MSU Denver. This includes the governor's recommendation to cut $20 million in total from all of higher education. The JBC proposal would give us an additional $17,000, so the changes that they made to the Department of Higher Ed budget would give back about $17,000 to us. But more importantly, at this point, it does not include the $20 million in cuts to higher education that were recommended by the governor and the Department of Higher Ed. And if that moves forward and passes, our total would be for an increase of about $1.26 million. So pretty dramatic change of essentially almost $1.75 million. So currently we have budgeted for a 3% decrease in enrollment as a worst case scenario. And meanwhile, the last couple of years of our enrollment has dipped below the budgeted number and impacted our university's overall bottom line. Now this should be something we should all be worried about, our enrollment picture, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, but I do want to put it into some context, because we do know in higher education that enrollment is inversely related to the state of the economy. The better the economy, the worse the enrollment. The worse the economy, the better the enrollment. Traditional in higher education for a very, very long time. We certainly saw our enrollment peak during the recession, 2008, 2009 to 2012. The economy has improved. In fact, I heard yesterday that unemployment in Denver is now only at 3.1%, the lowest in the nation, and we have seen a corresponding decline in our enrollments. In fact, in fiscal year 10-11, total student full-time equivalents were 17,789. Currently, for this fiscal year, we anticipate to end the year with 15,405 full-time equivalents, or a loss of $18.4 million in tuition and fee revenue. It's a lot of money, and it pays for a lot of things, pays for a lot of positions. I'm encouraged that we have started to implement new strategies to increase our enrollment, such as hiring Royal & Company to help boost our student recruitment for fall and spring. We've implemented the new Student Success Collaborative, and we've allocated a lot of new positions approved last fiscal year to support the areas of student recruitment and retention. So what does all this mean for next year? Well, as Shakespeare wrote, "As we know what we are, but we know not what we may be." A lot can happen in the next few weeks. This Friday, we'll hear from the state's economic forecast. And that is the last economic forecast that the legislature will use in establishing the budget. So that will determine whether it will be a cut to higher education or whether their current position of an increase to higher ed will actually happen. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll get a better picture on our summer and fall enrollment. Although I will tell you, my first data that I've seen on summer enrollment do not look encouraging at this point, and again to show us down another 4 to 5% against enrollment to the same date a year ago. Put money in thy purse. So in Shakespeare's case, this quote was based upon Iago sees a way to undermine Othello. Iago knows Roderigo has the financial means to support his diabolical plan. So for me, it begs the question of, or will we be able to give everyone an annual salary increase this year? Something I think you may have a direct interest in. So each spring we look at what, if any, compensation increase we can provide to you, our most important assets at MSU Denver. So currently the governor's proposal does not include a salary increase for classified staff. And they make no recommendations on exempt staff or faculty. The institutions have to decide that within their allocated resources. However, the Joint Budget Committee proposal does allow for a 1 to 2% increase for classified staff. And per state statute, we have to adhere to what the Joint Budget Committee approves in the long bill for classified staff. The Budget Task Force, which includes representation of students, faculty, administrators, and classified staff, is charged with recommending a salary increase to both faculty and staff and administrative categories. And this recommendation includes getting faculty and administrators up to a certain percent of our Coupa average. The Budget Task Force has also begun a dialogue to determine how much of a tuition increase that we will recommend to the Board of Trustees in May. However, let me be clear. I have no intention of balancing our shrinking enrollment on the backs of students by simply increasing tuition to offset losses in tuition revenue. Tuition hikes place a huge financial burden on students and their parents, which makes a difference between students coming and going to MSU Denver. My intent is to be under our 9% tuition cap for full-time students by entertaining a tuition proposal that would encourage the students to take advantage of MSU Denver's unique option of providing students providing full-time students up to 18 credit hours at less than the cost of 12. This means that students can save money in the long run. We hope by encouraging them to take more credit hours, they will persist and graduate and become successes rather than dropping out and leaving with debt. Now, we will continue to update you through the daily on what general fund allocation actually does get introduced into the long appropriation bill, what tuition increase we may actually recommend to the board at our May meeting, and how that will impact our budget, what additional resources will go to each branch of the university and their budget, and the potential for salary increases for all employees. In other words, or money in thy purse. Strong reasons make strong actions. So solid rationale backed by data and analysis most often encourages the best outcomes. And at our February Board of Trustees special working session, we focused on reprioritizing what had grown to be 27 major projects to a more manageable list of 17 top priority projects. This wasn't a formal approval process by the board, but rather an acknowledgement that the projects are underway and have a significant likelihood of being successful. And I thought it would be helpful to briefly review the 17 projects that are broken up into 5 categories. And these are new colleges, schools, and institutes, new academic programs, public-private partnerships, new construction and renovation, and reinvestment in current programs. So let me begin with the new colleges, schools, and institutes. And the first is one that I titled, Bring on the Heat. We're going to establish, or hope to establish, a School of Hospitality, Events, and Tourism. And this school is tied to a donation from a prominent hospitality leader. And this donation will actually fund the cost associated with being able to afford the administrative increases for a dean, to bring in some unique programs that we think will really help to establish this school as a prominent school of hospitality, not only in the West, but in the nation. Our HTA program has grown 25% since 2012, and our forecasts show that it will continue to grow. And with the new school, we can meet market demand for degrees in a field that is mostly resistant to economic fluctuations and create a program that draws students not only from all over the nation, but from all over the world. The second is what I would term more beer, please. That's perfect for a college campus, right? We intend to invest in our beer industry program through remodeled space and lab equipment, largely in the basement in the catacombs of the Tivoli. Market demand is also high for brewing programs, both locally and nationally. And one of the first brewing programs to focus on operations rather than fermentation, that is, our program is that, we've set ourselves apart. And investing in this program will continue to enhance the university's reputation. Some of you may have seen an announcement that our partner, Tivoli Brewery, where our students get their experiential learning, has just recently been awarded a contract to do a brewery at the end of the DIA rail line at the hotel at DIA, and that will also be marketed as an MSU training site. So it will literally, at that brewing site, be marketed as Tivoli and MSU Denver. A healthy approach. We intend to create a healthcare institute that integrates multiple current healthcare and wellness disciplines. We have put together a working group that is talking to industry representatives about the needs of the healthcare sector that aren't being met by higher education in this region, and intend to look at an array of programs with the help of the healthcare sector that we might bring up in support of healthcare. We think that an interdisciplinary approach to healthcare education will help us to meet high demand for employees in one of our state's strongest economic clusters. And this project will also help us to grow our enrollment, but also will feature a comprehensive career center that would focus on student success and retention. And of course, our Advanced Manufacturing Institute. As a key component of our AES initiative, this institute will house the new multidisciplinary Advanced Manufacturing Sciences degree. The AMS curriculum was developed with collaboration from industry and will raise our profile in Colorado and across the nation, as well as train students to meet the demands of this booming field. Let's talk about some new degree programs, beginning with master's degrees. So we intend to implement a master plan to design and fund our new graduate programs. Now you may recall that we have implemented 3 to date. They are all 100% self-supported, so they receive no general fund support, and yet we have been able to price them at a way in which we are priced lower than any of our competitors in Colorado, and we have been remarkably successful in enrollment. Every one of those started off with an initial cash loan. Those loans have been paid back. They are all making creating a positive fund balance. And our view is that these programs can literally become a way that can help to subsidize our undergraduate programs, contrary to the research university model where they use their undergraduate programs to subsidize the graduate students. Now, as you know, we currently have graduate programs in accountancy, education, and social work. We will be bringing an MBA with several focuses, so a Master's of Business Administration with several focuses, including accountancy and big data. In other words, really preparing people to go to work in company in how to do data analytics, which many companies in Colorado are telling us there's a great need for. And also a Master's in Health Administration, which would be a largely online degree. But we need to have a master plan for our future programs that will allow for strategic decision-making and efficient resource allocation. Now let me just say a word about why I think master's programs are so critical to our university right now. I think you all know that Denver today is building 5,000 apartment units in lower downtown Denver just for millennials. And those young people are moving into Colorado, largely bachelor's prepared, but will require some form of additional education to continue their professional careers. And I believe this university is well positioned to be the university that can meet their needs and help them to prepare for their next step in their professional careers. Graduate programs clearly enhance our reputation and are designed to generate a positive cash flow. So that's the model that we've set up. The revenue generated from graduate programs could be used to support our undergraduate programs. Well, the next one I titled The Force Awakens, and it's about doing fully and self-paced online programs. MSU Denver will pilot 2 fully online bachelor's programs between January of this year and May of 2017. Those programs are in social work and healthcare management. The university is also developing 3 post-baccalaureate self-paced certificates, a health data science certificate, which will roll out this spring, a wellness coaching certificate, also for the spring of 2016, and a hotel management certificate for the spring of 2017. Now, we all know that online courses serve a variety of MSU Denver student demographics. You know, 20% of our credit hour generation today on campus is through online programs, with students who are going here, but also taking an online course to help them meet their needs. And this is particularly important, I think, for our working adults. And these programs will expand MSU's Denver enrollment and our student retention opportunities. A bit about public-private partnerships. Our strategic plan requires us to develop public-private partnerships that are highly visible and have the potential for enormous public attention. And I will tell you, our university already has a significant national reputation. as a leader in how you can use public-private partnerships, not to do housing projects, but to actually create new academic spaces and create new academic programs. We were the focus of a national meeting here in Denver in which universities from across the country came in to learn how we were doing our programs here in Denver. So let me talk about some of them that we'll be rolling out. And the first one is the the Rock and Roll College, the School of Rock. So DIME Detroit and DIME Denver. And DIME stands for the Detroit Institute of Music Education. You may remember that our fall welcome back, I announced DIME Detroit, a new public-private partnership with the Detroit Institute of Music Education. It allows MSU Denver students to take courses online and at the DIME Detroit campus location, and with the potential to grow new locations, including Colorado and other states across the country. This is a program in which the curriculum is controlled by our music faculty, and the faculty in Detroit will be our faculty, and the students will be our students. So this fall, we will enroll somewhere around 150 students in Detroit in our music program that will count towards our enrollment here at MSU Denver, and we're already providing online the services allowing those students to register and to apply for financial aid. We have received approval from our regional accrediting body for the Detroit site, and we anticipate approval from the music accreditation body in June. So this will be a fully accredited music program. And I believe at the end of the month, our partners in Detroit will be here, and we will be beginning the site selection process for the Denver site. And I anticipate that, what, Steve, 2017, we'll probably be rolling out the program in Denver. Each one of these programs is designed to go, each site to go to about 800 students. So we'll have eventually 800 in Detroit, 800 in Denver, and we'll be looking at a West Coast site in the not too distant future as well. A little bit about new construction and renovation. First, the AES and backfill. By now you've seen that the construction of the AES building is well underway, and that project will integrate multiple disciplines to train the next generation of professionals in aerospace and advanced manufacturing. The building is set to open in 2017, so we anticipate a soft opening in the summer of 2017, sort of get the building up and running, and then full use of it for the fall of 2017. With the completion of the new building, approximately 20,000 square feet of much-needed academic space will become open across campus, which should begin to address other growing programmatic needs. So we will begin a backfill process into those spaces as departments move into the new AES building. Now let me say just a bit about what this new building has already done for us. We already have a commitment for the Colorado Advanced Manufacturing Association to move their headquarters into the 4th floor of that building. So this building will literally be the focus of all advanced manufacturing for the state of Colorado, because that private sector leadership office will be there. We are in conversations right now with, well actually we have been offered a seat on the board of the Department of Defense Advanced Manufacturing Center in Chicago. And that means that we will, by being offered a seat on the board, we are seen as a major player already because of the unique curriculum in advanced manufacturing that we have developed. They are now talking with us about placing a Department of Defense grant in cybersecurity on the 4th floor of that building, because one of the key elements of advanced manufacturing is you've got to be able to protect the data as it is transferred from conceptual design to manufacturing equipment and all the way through the manufacturing processes. So we literally will become, it appears, the center of cybersecurity for advanced manufacturing for the nation. Pretty cool, neat deal. And we have already been encouraged and have submitted a grant application in partnership with the University of Cincinnati to become the center that will deliver certificate programs in advanced manufacturing by distance education across the country. So a lot happening simply because of our efforts to construct that unique degree program in that building in advanced manufacturing. We intend to develop additional parking for the Hotel Learning Center and MSU Denver through a mutually beneficial public-private partnership. So on that space that's sort of between where the baseball field was and the hotel, we intend to put in some more parking. Occasionally, okay, maybe more than occasionally, you hear from people around campus complaining about parking. Well, we may have an opportunity to work with several private companies to develop additional parking spots on that land west of the HLC. And this also will provide additional revenue to the university while not incurring much upfront cost to us, as well as creating partnerships that could benefit our community moving forward. And I want to spend a moment talking about the Student Success Building space reallocation. We intend to provide more student engagement areas, lounge and study spaces on the first floor of the Student Success Building, as well as space for internal and external events. The reallocation will improve student engagement and retention by providing additional collaborative areas and space for students just to hang out. So a lot of that open space that's on the first floor, we're gonna put in a lot more desks and plug-ins and places for students to be able to do things. We're talking about putting in some pretty unique screens in there that students who are working together in a group can use. The space that had been for the Center for Innovation at the end of the building, we intend to make that into a student lounge as a place where students can hang out and fix it up pretty cool for them. So a lot of things that we want to do that students have said to us, they need more space just to be able to sort of hang out and study between classes. And I think it will also help to build community engagement by providing space for internal and external events. And I hope it will make the SSB building more reflective of our Roadrunner brand. A little bit about some reinvestment in some current programs. As you know, we have a goal in our strategic plan to become a HispanicServing Institution, an HSI, by the fall of 2018. And to get that designation, 25% of our full-time graduates, full-time equivalent students, must be Latino. We're not there yet. But I will say we have made tremendous progress, because remember when we started off to do this, we were 13% Latino. Today we're about 22% Latino in headcount enrollment, so we are close. And we really thought that, okay, now that we're close, we cannot sort of rest on our laurels, we have to get this done. So a group of our colleagues spent much of last year working on, as a task force, to developing what are those final strategies we need to implement to get us to the goal. So as a result of that and the ideas that are out there, I have asked Esther Rodriguez, our Director of the Center for Urban Education and co-chair of the HSI Task Force, to serve as a special assistant to the President and to lead this initiative. And Esther has agreed to do that. We're going to really put every effort we can into achieving that goal. And there are really two reasons we want to do this. One, it's the right thing to do. Colorado has the second largest educational achievement gap in the country between its majority population, our white population, and our largest minority, which are Hispanics. And if one of Colorado's 3 largest universities cannot achieve this status, this state has no hope of ever closing that achievement gap. So we have done tremendous work, but there is more to do, but we do it because it is the right thing to do. But in addition, the federal government, by designating you as an HSI, provides every HSI with a basic grant. It's about $500,000 to $650,000. But more importantly, every single federal agency has grants in which only HSIs, HBCUs, and Native American student universities can compete. And universities like ours, who compete in that pool, typically double their grant and contract activity. That's the history of it. So right now we do about $16 million in grant and contract activity. We believe that this will allow us to move to about $32 million in grant and contract activity. So there is an important fiscal reason as well as an important policy reason for us in wanting to achieve this goal. We need to reinvest in our Center for Advanced Visualization and Experiential Analysis, the CAVIA, that supports users from every industry in making better decisions through visualization and collaborative problem solving. The CAVIA has the potential to be a strong revenue generator for us, but we need to upgrade and modify the technology in order to remain innovative and attractive to clients. This will give you a clue to how much this is being used now. In fact, in the last 3 months, CAVIA has hosted 37 different events with key groups representing stakeholders throughout the state, including a major pre-national meeting grouping of national water experts talking about water issues across the country. Our One World, One Water Center for Urban Education and Stewardship, oh wow, was originally funded through a gift that will last until fiscal year 2016. This means that we will need to find the funding for OWOW moving forward. We feel this is an important resource for the community and the state, and one that reflects our mission and gives us great external visibility. We have about 100 students now that are now minoring in a water minor that was put together by the OWOW Center that is interdisciplinary across departments. And 2 weeks ago, we announced a partnership between OWOW and the Denver Botanic Gardens, which we think will lead to interesting research projects for students and faculty. SIM, or Strategic Enrollment Management, is the most important initiative for the university. We're positioning MSU Denver for success by developing new and innovative marketing, recruiting, retention, student services, and academic programs. We're changing our campus culture and environment to embrace our future. And over the summer, we've contracted SimWorks to develop an enrollment management plan. And this plan identified and mapped out strategies, tasks, and metrics for the university to grow its enrollment. And we are now at the execution phase of this plan. So you're going to see a lot starting to happen, I think, around the whole array of initiatives that we intend to roll out to increase enrollment. How poor are they that have not patience? What wound did ever heal but by degrees? Patience is a virtue. It's a quality we must have to determine the direction of the university. What must happen to get us to where we want to go? It is through patience that we determine which 2 projects to place on the back burner, that is, to not move forward with. So let me speak for a moment about them, and first, Colorado Heights University. After an extensive and thorough due diligence process this fall, our Board of Trustees determined that the expense of getting the CHU campus into usable shape, plus its operating costs, were simply too great a financial risk for MSU Denver. In January, we explained to the TKO group that we could not accept the gift under the conditions that were offered, and we sent them a counterproposal. TKO responded by saying that they would need to investigate other alternatives, and we have left that door open for future discussion. We have said we understand why you need to do that. If you are interested in coming back with us and having a conversation with us around the counterproposal that we gave to you, we would be pleased to do that. But to date, we have not had any further conversations, and I do not really expect that we will have further conversations. I want to say a bit about the Student Health Center. We have put off the potential of outsourcing the Student Health Center and changes to the student mandatory insurance policies, tabling any plan to take over the health center for at least a 2-year period. But let me be clear that I do believe that this continues to leave us with an antiquated model of health care provision due to the rapidly changing health care environment. There is a reason that you are seeing consolidation of health care throughout the country and even in Colorado, and that all these formerly independent hospitals are being bought up by larger hospital units. It is very expensive for a small, self-contained unit to affordably operate on its own. We know that UC Denver is going to be opening their wellness center, which is both a fitness center, but they intend to begin to offer some health-related services for their students, which will affect the revenue stream of our own health center. So I do applaud the health center for working to improve communications to help our students analyze the costs between MSU Denver insurance and options provided by the Affordable Health Care Act. We're going to continue to operate it the way it is for the next 2 years, but I think we are going to need to have some serious conversations in the future about whether an independent operation like that is sustainable for the long run. Things won are done. Joy's soul lies in the doing. So this quote expertly sums up the entrepreneurial spirit of our Roadrunners. No doubt about it, conquering the mountain is sweet, and however, real satisfaction comes from the struggle up to the apex and the progress made throughout the journey. And today we have much to celebrate despite the hard economic times and the work ahead. Let me mention one of those celebrations. You know, we have been celebrating our 50th anniversary, and thanks to many of you for joining us. On June the 4th, we're going to have a concluding gala. It's going to be an outdoor event, not a black tie event at all, but an outdoor event. And the focus of it is to raise money for scholarships. Our committee has a goal to raise $300,000 from this event for scholarships. We invite all of you to join us at that event. It'll be a fun ending celebration of our 50th anniversary. So before I open the floor, I want to offer a few congratulatory updates. First, to the College of Business for their AACSB accreditation. You know, that college has worked many long and hard years. I think many of us know the torturous journey it's been for the college to achieve accreditation. But it is a monumental milestone. Only 5% of business colleges worldwide are accredited. This puts us in a very unique group. And it is important for our reputation, but it is more important for our students. Because there are many companies, particularly in the accounting, the large accounting firms, that will not hire accountants unless they come from an accredited College of Business. So this was a big deal, and congratulations to the faculty in the College of Business. I also want to acknowledge that the athletic department, who is hosting the NCAA Division II Spring Sports Festival May 16th to the 21st. We will have about 1,000 student athletes from 80 universities around the country staying at the Sheraton downtown and competing on our athletic fields in 5 sports. Women's softball, women's lacrosse, men's and women's tennis, and men's and women's golf. And it's going to be a great Olympic-style event. There will be an opening ceremony at Coors Field, or I still want to say Mile High Stadium, so I will, at Mile High. A closing ceremony down on 16th Street, and there will be 5 national championships handed out in a single day at that event. Please come and join us for that. And I'm so proud of our faculty and of the many things they accomplish each and every year. But there were 2 recent achievements I wanted to note. First, Dr. Dawn Matera Bassett, an assistant professor in our social work program, was named Social Worker of the Year for the state of Colorado by the National Association of Social Workers Colorado chapter. And our own Marilyn Cookie Hetzel from our theater department was awarded a much-deserved Lifetime of Excellence in Teaching Award from the Kennedy Center and the American College Theater Festival Program Region 7. Congrats to these 2 extraordinary faculty members. And a good example of how we're using public-private partnerships to meet community needs is the recent collaboration between our nursing department and Lutheran Medical Center. The 2 institutions are teaming up to offer experienced registered nurses advanced training courses in specialty areas of emergency and critical care nursing. There are serious nursing shortages in these areas, both locally and across the country, And this collaboration will go a long way towards addressing those needs. And finally, let me just leave you with this thought. You know, many of you may know Tammy Dorr. Tammy is the president and CEO of the Downtown Denver Partnership, and she's on the Auraria board. And I had occasion actually to hear Tammy speak to some of our Metro leaders, but I've heard her say this before as she's spoken to groups. When she talks about higher education in the Denver metropolitan area, she says, and unabashedly, Metropolitan State University is the innovative university. They own that brand. And she essentially does that to say, no one else in the city is like you guys. You own innovation. And that's a real compliment to each and every one of you. So congratulations, because people in the community are noticing the work that you're doing on their behalf. So finally, I will be a fool in any question, hoping to be the wiser by your answer. So I'd like to open up the floor to any questions that you might have. None? Oh, come on. Any prognostications? You know, we got the Division I basketball tournament starting over at the Pepsi Center. Anybody got a bet on who's going to win the national championship? No? I'm coming back. Speaking of athletics, hey, John.
So, John Kitzman, the Assistant Athletic Director and Chair of Council of Administrators. You talked a lot about all the 17 projects. Do you have any kind of a timeline of when you want to see those completed? Or is there anything, I know a number of them are underway, but just curious as to...
Yeah, well, on the master's degrees, we had a visit from our accrediting body, North Central, which will have to approve our moving forward with these 2 degrees. We will know by June whether we have that approval, and once that approval is done, then we will start moving forward with finalizing that curriculum and hopefully rolling out something perhaps a year after that. And obviously, I think our goal is, what we've talked about is creating a pool of $1 million to be able to finance the upfront costs of these degrees, and then as they pay back, new degrees can come in afterwards, so we have this rolling pool. So I hope that those first 2 degrees will be able to start within a year and then up and running. Obviously, AES Building will be completed in a year. I think most of the student success renovations we anticipate doing immediately. I think over the summer, isn't that right, Steve? We want to be able to have some spaces ready for the students when they come back in the fall. The renovations for the backfill actually won't be able to start obviously until everybody moves out of their space and into the AES building, so that's a year down the line, and then probably a year of renovation to go on while that happens. The parking spaces near the HLC, I think, is a fairly imminent project, that'll happen fairly quickly. Any others that you wanted? You hit the one I need. Okay, all right, super. Other questions?
Bring the mic to you. The DIME project is really brilliant. And I know you mentioned that the students in Detroit will be our students, and there might be another campus on the West Coast. Will they be paying in-state tuition for Colorado, or will they be considered out-of-state? And how does that model work in the future?
So we're going to do a model that's similar to more to our graduate programs. We're going to have a single price. And the reason that we're doing that with our partners is that we want to be the students in Detroit to be able to come to Denver, and the students in Denver to be able to go to the West Coast site. So we're going to have a single price model for the whole country. And that model will roll out at about $14,000. We also think that it will open up the opportunity for them to go to similar programs in England as well, which is also at that same price point. So we're really trying to create a single price point and allow students to have an experience part of the time in Detroit, part of the time here, part of the time somewhere else. But by the way, let me just say one of the reasons why we've got there's a lot of interest by the business community in what we're doing with this. And the reason why is that, I think, again, we talked about the millennials downtown. Denver's developing a great downtown scene. They don't have a great music scene. The last 2 chamber leadership exchange trips that they took were intentionally, they went to Austin to check out the music scene, and they went to Nashville. They see this project that we're doing as really helping to fuel that music scene. One of the things that these students do in these programs is that they develop their own bands and they go out and play in various venues around the city. So we think this whole program will help to create the music scene in lower downtown Denver that people are looking for.
So if I could just follow up on that, do you see this model extending to other domains and other areas, something we should look at down the line in the future for other departments, other areas of study?
You're seeing Vice President
I see Steve Kryler's going,
say
yes.
yes. The entrepreneurial Vice President. Yeah.
I know we're about to search for an AVP for innovative programs. So we have 17 initiatives we're doing now. Can you give us a sense of where you would like to see that position drive the university in the next 5 to 10 years?
So I think one of the things that has happened, and I'm so proud of our faculty have been a part of this, is that we have shown a willingness to sit down with various industry clusters first at the front end and sort of say, what do you need? What are the hard skills and the soft skills? And then intentionally design curriculum around it, and then invite them in to help us to find places that we can do it and how we pay for it. So I think one of the things that I really see this person doing is understanding what are the key economic clusters in Colorado and what are our capacities. And how can we then sort of realign those capacities and rethink our curriculum to better meet an individual economic cluster in a way. So I think that's where the innovation will come from. And certainly what happened with those departments that were involved in creating the advanced manufacturing worked that way. The microbrewery operations certainly worked that way. I think what I'm hearing is that, most business people say what universities typically do is they say, this is what we've decided, here, take it or leave it. And what they like about what we're doing is we're coming and saying, tell us what are the hard skills and the soft skills. And then let us look at what we have and what we don't have and see how we configure a curriculum that can meet your needs. That excites them and that gives them a reason to want to invest. So I need leadership that really can help us and to bring faculty together around those kinds of ideas. Other questions? We're having, you may not know this, currently it's my privilege to chair the American Association of State Colleges and Universities. It's the 450 regional comprehensive universities and colleges in the United States, like us. And we enroll 60% of all the enrollment in the public sector, four-year sector in the country. We're hosting the board of the American Association of State Colleges and Universities here tomorrow and Friday. So it's going to be an interesting couple of days. We're going to show them a few of the things that are going on here as well as doing our business meeting. But it's really a great opportunity for the rest of the country to see what we're doing here at MSU Denver. So I'm excited about this opportunity to show off our university. Other questions? Come on. Disconnect something. Nothing? One more.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your trip to Zurich and the investigation about their apprenticeship programs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Boy, what a cool trip. So I had the opportunity to join the governor and mostly business leaders from Colorado along with Nancy McCallum, the president of the community college system, President Freeman from CCD, and there was another community college president, for a trip to Switzerland to look at the Swiss model of apprenticeship. The Swiss are really well known for what they do. And it's unique, I think, in this sense that they describe their system as very permeable. So at the end, their formal education process has sort of an endpoint at the equivalent of our freshman year in high school. And a student then, with lots of advice from counselors and parents, a student makes a decision about, I'm going to continue on the formal education side through a high school diploma leading to a research university, or I'm going to go over and do an apprenticeship. And the apprenticeship has two models, a 2-year model that leads directly to work, or a 4-year model, so where they do apprentice work 3 days a week and have formal classes on Mondays and Fridays that are aligned with it, so they actually understand why the work they're doing, how it relates to physics, or the work they're doing and how it relates to calculus. And then when they graduate from that, they either can go to work for the company or they have automatic admission to the University of Applied Sciences. And if you look a lot at their corporate leadership has gone through that model of the apprenticeship, the University of Applied Science, work, master's degree, doctoral degree, work. They have 97% youth employment in Switzerland. And it was really impressive to talk to the students and hear what they said about their apprenticeship programs. I talked to a young woman at a bank who said, I am interested in international banking, but I thought that it would be better for me to get some experience in banking and then go and get an economics degree, because I would understand more about what international banking was about because I'd experienced some of it. This is a young person making that decision as a freshman in high school. She was at the 4th year, finishing the 4th year of her apprenticeship, and was then going to go to the University of Applied Sciences to get her economics degree, bachelor's degree. But the model is funded by the private sector. They spend about $25,000 per year per apprentice. And then the public sector puts the wraparound courses around it, you know, that complements it. So the composition, the writing, the physics, the math, and all the other things that go with it. And the learning outcomes are driven by by groups of businesses. So the banking industry comes together and they decide what the learning outcomes are for all bankers. The aircraft industry comes together and decides that. So we went to see Pilatus, who has a shop out at Broomfield making Pilatus airplanes. So we went and visited the Pilatus aircraft manufacturing. And you see the skills these young people are learning, but you also see how they understand how the academic curriculum relates to the things that they actually do in the workplace. It's a really cool thing to see. What we're trying to understand is you can't take, I mean, first of all, Switzerland has, 400 years of this model in place, right? I mean, they've been doing this for a long time. And so you can't just take that model and plop it down here. And so you've got to have a couple of things. One, we're trying to figure out how we fit it in with our model and how we work it between the community colleges and Metro. Two, business actually has to be willing to make an investment. They have to get past this short-term solution. I mean, these businesses are intentional in sort of saying, this is an investment in our workforce, and we are constantly infusing new young workers into our workforce. But they moderate how many apprentices they have in any given year by the economy. But you can say there is roughly a relationship, there is a ratio between the number of full-time workers that they have and the number of apprentices that they have. So the larger the company, the larger the number of apprentices that go on there. We are currently working and really leadership with Dean Haynes, with a company here in Denver on an apprenticeship model where we're trying to put together an apprenticeship with them and a bachelor's degree in construction technology. We've done survey work of companies who have indicated from the company standpoint it would be highly valued. The word they gave to us is they would have starting salaries between $65,000 and $75,000 with a bachelor's degree. And we're now trying to survey the prospective apprentices to see if they see the same value so that we can have a large enough program to make it work. But we are going to see if we could try doing one of these and see if we can make it work for them. I will also say that as a result of that trip, just so you know, we visited a hospitality program in Lucerne that was almost identical in their academic focus to our hospitality program. We've put the two programs together, and interestingly enough, as I understand, they're getting ready to ramp up an events area, right? And so it looks like we're going to be able to help them with curriculum around events, and we're trying to create opportunities for students, obviously, and faculty to do exchanges between Lucerne, Switzerland, and MSU Denver. So that's played out. Pilatus, we've had several conversations with since then, and Pilatus is already talking with us about sending their folks to us to get a master's degree, and one of the master's areas we're talking about is an aviation master's, and that's what they have an interest in sending their employees to us to get. So it's also working out for us that we're creating some business connections with companies in Switzerland as a result of that trip. It was an amazing trip. I will say it was, remember the movie Groundhog Day? We were on the bus at 6:30 in the morning. We'd go visit sites, we'd have lunch, we'd go visit more sites, we'd have a dinner, we'd have a post-dinner meeting, we'd get back on the bus, we'd drive back, we'd get to the hotel at 11, back on the bus at 6:30. We did that for 5 consecutive days. And it's like every day it was like Groundhog Day, back on the bus at 6:30. So, but it was an amazing trip. I think all of us walked away really impressed with what the Swiss do. And we're trying to think about how can we create some of the attributes that they have, but do it in the context of our system of education here in America. Thanks for asking about that. Any other questions? Great. Well, again, I really want to thank all of you for taking the time to come out today. I would simply remind you to go wisely and slowly. Those who rush stumble and fall. Thanks a lot.